I'm Samantha Hovanek.
I'm Tony Anthony Weeda.
And we have Barrett, who is 22 months old now. We found out that when I first delivered, he failed his two newborn screens. And the hospital pretty much told us not to worry about it and that it was likely fluid or from just from having the C-section. And so they wanted us to just follow up with an ENT appointment after, in a month. So we went to the ENT when he was about 2 months old, and they did the test. I don't remember what the test was called, but they just put little probes in his ears, and he hated every second of it and cried and yelled the whole time. And the audiologist at that point told us that it was inconclusive and that, but it was probably fine, and that we needed to just come back when he was around 9 months old. So at home on our own, we were kind of trying to test his hearing by ourselves.
Yeah, we have a dog at home, so the dog would bark and there would be no response, from him. I'd make noises behind him, trying to get some type of response, and there was nothing. So we kind of already assumed that there was some issues there, hearing loss problems. But then we went back at the appointment at 7 months old, and same thing. He didn't like things being stuck in his ears, so the tests were very inconclusive. So I think we then made the decision to have the sedated ABR.
Yeah, I think when we were at home, we would go back and forth with it. We would think he couldn't hear, and then we would try our at-home tests, and then we would think he could hear, but he had adapted pretty well to lights and to shadows and to things like reacting to people on TV or reacting to faces. And so we were back and forth a lot with it. And then we ended up just going in October. Well, we went in September, and then she suggested, because it was inconclusive, just going to get the sedated ABR, which we did in October. And just right then at that appointment, just during that ABR, they told us that he couldn't hear anything. It was severe to profound.
Right.
And that he would be a good candidate for cochlear implants as long as everything with the MRI checked out. So from then, I think it was like a whirlwind, because we found out October 26th. And then I had already made an appointment with an ENT because I thought that he would, just in case, I didn't want to wait to, I didn't want to find out on October 26th and then have to get an ENT appointment, because I thought it was going to take forever. So I had made it early in the game and just waited, and it was December. I think it was scheduled for December 8th. But it was between two different hospital systems. So the doctor, suggested we stay with the same system. So we, when we left the hospital that day, they called us in the car on the way home with an appointment with a surgeon for that Monday. So it was
everything just moved so fast.
Very quick.
From that point. We talked earlier how it seemed like we didn't even have time to be mad or grieve, about this. Everything was just moving so fast. But, we found our time to be upset and, I guess, get emotional about it. So I know I put him to bed at night, and, I'll rock him in a chair, feed him a bottle and put him to bed, and just, cry with him, and just, pray to God, take my hearing instead. Why? He doesn't deserve this, but, you came to terms with it. And like I said, everything just moved so fast.
We had, when he got the diagnosis on October 26th, the surgery, I thought it was going to be months. It was going to take forever to get all of this going with the holidays and everything. But when we went to see the surgeon on the 29th, he was like, okay, so we can do it November. It was really early. It was sometime in November. I was like, well, we gotta hold on a second. We had I felt like we had no time really to even, the next day they got us in with audiology, and then we were picking equipment, and I had never heard of any of this stuff before. And I was all of a sudden having to choose between, make these huge decisions of something that never even occurred to us was going to be an option really. And so that felt really rushed to me. And I just remember the day we went to go get, because after that, then we had to go and we had to see like the psychologist, we just and the genetics and get the meningitis and all this crazy stuff. And I remember the day we went to go pick up the backpacks full of stuff, and I was like, there is no way that I am ever going to be able to do this because it was just, I was like, it's like I'm going backpacking for like 2 months, and this is just, there was so much.
There's a lot of overwhelming stuff in there to learn.
Yeah, and they were
what to do
trying
with
to
everything.
go through it with us, and I was like, there is no way that I'm ever going to figure this out.
In the meantime, we sat there and we don't want to place blame on each other, but like, who's at fault here? What caused this? Is it something I did wrong? Is it something she did wrong? But we never, I guess, blamed each other about it. But we talked about it and discussed, things like that. So
I think I was really worried because I didn't find out that I was pregnant until I was like 5 months pregnant. It was like a total surprise. And so I was like, oh crap, like what did I do in that first 4 months that, like, was there anything that we missed or like what, but then they told us, they're like, no, this has absolutely nothing to do with finding out late that you're pregnant. And then he had his surgery in December, and it was, as good as I guess it could be.
It went quicker than I expected. So we were in and out,
like in
surgery.
Like 4 hours or
And,
something.
we had a little complication afterwards. I don't know if he was sick or caught a cold during the surgery with the intubation. So we had to bring him back into the hospital that night. Thought I heard some congestion in his lungs. He didn't seem like he was breathing well enough. So we took him in and spent the night in the hospital, and that cleared up pretty well.
But our surgeon was like so awesome because it was like we had surgery at a surgery center, and then we had to go to the hospital, and he came over like the next day and checked on him, and they called us, and everyone we were really lucky because everyone in our team was so awesome. Like we never had to argue with insurance. Like they did all of that stuff for us, and anything we've ever needed, they've been really helpful. I feel like I spend more time with them than I spend with like a lot of people that I've known for a long time. And so he's doing great now. He's like in speech weekly, and we have Help Me Grow, and he just started daycare. And when he went to daycare, he just started in June, but so he's been in like 4 months when he went, and then I had to go and like sit and explain all of this stuff to the daycare providers. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if you would have told me a year ago that I would be sitting here, 6 months out, like now rattling off like this and this and this and this, I never would have believed it. But it's so, in the grand scheme of things that could be wrong, this has been fairly manageable for us. There are challenges.
Right. Yeah, there is, but it just doesn't seem as hard as a lot of other people experienced or went through. So,
or like, yeah, when we found out, like I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know how we're gonna handle this. But really, it's not. He's like caught on to things really quickly. We really haven't had too much struggle with his implants other than 2-year-old nonsense that, now he just has a power. So like he has something that he has power over. So, but I think he's doing pretty good.
Right. And we're learning sign language. So
and we're trying to learn sign language.
That's tough. I think learning it's tougher than having to deal with him.
Yeah, we have a hard time picking it up, but we're just like taking his lead and like whatever he's interested in, then we learn the sign for it, and then just kind of go on with that. And we go to classes, and I guess the other thing that's good is the community that we've built with it. We do have they do have like a support group that we haven't been able to go to very often because just due to scheduling, but I know like if we need something, I'm able to, text them or reach out to them. Or I've met like a lot of interpreters in the school who are emailing and, asking to go out for coffee. And we've gotten a new church community from it that has a strong deaf population, and we go to their sign language classes through them. And, Cleveland Hearing and Speech works with us, and they always have resources too. So it's nice to like, even if we don't see them regularly, or very socially, we know that if there's a need or if there's a question, like we can always reach out to them too. So,
and then they recommended we come to the Care Project
Yeah.
here. So it was, I was unsure. She's spearheaded this, and so I'm glad we're here and glad we came to it. So just to meet with other people, networking, I guess, so we can keep in touch with other people, the same experiences. So
yeah, our speech there,
thankful for that.
Cleveland Hearing and Speech gave us the information, and then I went into our regular speech therapist, and I was like, there's this thing I'm supposed to go to, and she's like, she's like, that's fantastic. I'm so glad you're going. I was going to tell you about it, and I'm like, oh. So yeah, it was, but I mean, whatever information or resources we can get is just going to help out our situation. So,
Right.
And I guess like if for other people who are kind of going through the process, when I'm on, social media or whatever, reading people's stories and like, just like how overwhelmed they are in the beginning, like we were those people, and it gets so much, it does get better, and it is manageable, and it is like it's not the end of the world. I mean, there's a lot of hope, I think.